Hi, everyone. Ashley Mailloux, Mike Beer here with a stakes preview for Saturday at Tampa Bay Downs. We're going to focus in on race number 7, which is for 4-year-old fillies and upward. It's the Wayward Lass for $125,000, two-turn event here at 1.16 miles on the main track. And so we take a look at the field, Mike. There's a field of 6 in here. It's kind of an interesting group when you get down to it. You have a horse that's competed in grade 1 competition, not just one, but several in this group. Pretty interesting race where I feel like a lot of these fillies and mares, they're trying to get back on track.
Yeah, well, yeah, trying to get to the winner's circle anyway, right? I mean, the deal with I think the horse that you're sort of maybe alluding to here at the Open, Drexel Hill, who, listen, second in the Kentucky Oaks, and she's got all these really nice results in stakes races. She's got that one win there in the Bush here, right? That could go in the 1-turn mile, but other than that, she's run well, just doesn't win that often. Maybe this is a spot for her to pick up another victory.
And Saffie Joseph Jr. looks to be loaded in here with Ultimate Authority, Early On, and Andrea, his 3 in this field of 6. We'll take a look at the time form US pace projection, and I think it could be interesting. A couple of horses I don't feel like, Mike, they don't have a ton of early foot, and when they have, they've crawled on the front end. So I would have to think if the 5, if she wants the lead in here, Andrea can get it.
I feel the same way. I feel like the pace projector has the 2 horses that I was sort of considering as the ones who could be on the lead in here, the 1 and the 5. And I guess we'll just see how they decide to play things here from the rail with Ultimate Authority, who they tend not to get aggressive with her, but she's got a lot of tactical speed. This is a great post for her if they decide to go forward with her.
And speaking of Ultimate Authority, let's kick it off with her, a 5-year-old mare by Practical Joke, who was 1 for 5 last year as a 4-year-old filly. And kind of look at her campaign. There's some gaps in her races, right? We didn't see her when she transitioned from the Tim Yak Barn to Saffie Joseph Jr. She didn't run particularly well in the Princess Rooney, which was won by Holland Ice, her stablemate. Then more time off, and they tried the turf. So I think on a positive note, we're seeing her make, 2 starts in less than a month. I also think, the turf was probably an experiment and a failed one.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it doesn't feel like a prep. I mean, I guess it could be a prep, but it feels more like you said. It feels more like an experiment because she ran so poorly in her first start for Saffie that maybe they wanted to try something different. Didn't work out. She's better on dirt, and who knows? Maybe she just can't run anymore. Her last 2 races are both pretty bad. But if she gets back to form in this race, she's got plenty of races that make her really tough in here, and there's a good trip coming for her from the rail, I believe.
The 2 Early On is her stablemate, a filly who we haven't seen since her participation in the Kentucky Oaks last year. And she was a big price in there. I know she'd come up short in some of her races prior to that, but I didn't mind her Virginia Oaks. I really thought her Gazelle performance, she gets defeated by Ballerina d'Oro, but I thought she was really game in that effort. And I think this is a great comeback spot for her.
I love this spot for her too. I understand why they took a shot in the Kentucky Oaks, and she actually didn't even run that poorly in there, even though she wasn't a real factor. But this is a filly who, even early in her career when they were sprinting her and those races don't look great on paper, I just thought that she showed a lot in those races early on, and she just looked like a horse who was, just begging to go longer. And as soon as they stretched her out, she just got better. I think she's, even at this point, I still think she's way better than she looks on paper. She's not going to be compromised by the pace of this race, whether it's fast or slow. There's a lot to like about her, and there's a layoff that has to be a concern for sure. It's worth pointing out Saffie had her entered in New York, I don't know, a few weeks ago in an entry-level allowance race, and for whatever reason, they decided not to ship up there. They waited, and they're going to run her back in a stakes race here. That could be a good sign for her too.
And it's not like she's had gaps in her morning drill, so it seems like it was more of a conscious effort than maybe a setback or anything like that. The 3's Rosario's Prayer, 5 1/4 length winner last time out, but a whole different ball game. A first level allowance at Mountaineer would really need to step up, and has raced at Tampa twice in the past, but wasn't able to graduate here. Came close, and then you look at it afterwards. I just think this would be a miracle.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like a miracle. I feel like I could make cases for the other 5 in here. I couldn't make a case for her.
Yeah, it's really tough. And I mean, consistent horse as of late on the dirt, but just would really need a huge buyer boost. The number 4, Runaway Diva up next here for Michelle Hemingway. I thought she was a little intriguing. I don't know if I could get to her on the top spot because I don't necessarily trust her, but I thought her winner, Colonial, she got the pace setup she needed. I know Colonial can be speed favoring, and since then she's just been second best. But one that I think from a buyer perspective and the way that she finishes her races, a minor share looks within a reach.
Yeah, I can see that too. I mean, it's unfortunate maybe in her case that it's just such a short field that there's just almost no way that she gets lost in the wagering here and goes off at some kind of huge price, but she will be, one of the longer prices on the board in this race, and she comes into this race in really good form.
And then we'll move on to the number 5 in here. Andrea here for Safi Joseph Jr. She disappointed last time out on that big day out at Mahoning Valley. She just showed some early speed. She backed out of it. Thought when you looked at her Charlestown Oaks performance, it was decent. Maybe it was the configuration that got to her. But now, again, she's going 2 turns. She's going a mile and a 16th. And I think in some ways, Mike, doesn't that make her a little vulnerable?
Yeah, I think it does. I guess we'll see how it all plays out, but I do think it makes her vulnerable. I still think she has, something to prove anyway against, legit stakes horses. So we'll see if she's able to do that. But yeah, I know it's a 2-turn race at Charlestown, and I know it's the top figure she ever earned, and she's, now grade 2 placed. But I don't know. I just thought she ran okay in that race. I didn't think she did anything special in there.
And then we'll round it out here with the number 6, Drexel Hill, one of the bigger names in here. And I know we've showed this replay in another preview that we covered for New York race, but we'll take a look at the Mother Goose. And, sometimes I feel like her running style is what gets her in trouble. And now she's going from a mile and an eighth to a mile and a 16th, the distance that, you look at her mile effort. She's been able to win at a mile and 70 yards races at the fairgrounds haven't been necessarily some of her strongest, but I thought this was a huge second from her, and I actually don't mind that slight cutback for her, knowing that the pace should be a little bit more honest.
Yeah, that's going to be key for her, I think, just to work out some kind of a trip. I mean, she's shown that she can keep closer if she has to, and she might have to in this race. Listen, she's easy to like in here. I would just say her Mother Goose is fine. She was only second best in that race, and outside the winner, who does seem like a pretty good horse for Chad Brown. There was nothing else in that field. So she was second, and she was a distant second in there. And then the standout race is obviously the Kentucky Oaks, but, wet track, big, huge pace in that race. And she just sits last and comes running late for second. I don't know how much credit to give her for that one either. And if I take the Kentucky Oaks out, is she really a standout in here? I don't think she is.
Yeah, tough to say also what price she'll be in here. I have a feeling it'll be a super short one for Drexel Hill. So that's the field of 6 for the Wayward Lass. We'll move to our top selections here. And, when it came down to it, she's got to be a short price. As you mentioned, maybe you're not enamored with her performances. I still have to respect her against this group. I think for me, I was a little intrigued about seeing her cut back slightly because I do think the pace is at least going to be honest. And who knows, Andrea, if she gets loose in here or if someone presses her, I still think she's going to be going quicker than some of the races that Drexel Hill exits. I use her as the top pick, but you go to the 2 early on, a horse that we haven't seen in quite some time, but her efforts 2 and 3 back, they were huge, Mike.
Yeah, that's what I think. Listen, I have no argument with Drexel Hill being the horse to beat in this race, but she's just not a favorite that I'm afraid to take a shot against in here. I think I can out-trip her with early on. I've have a lot of high hopes for early on. I've been a big fan of hers since the start of her career. I think this is a good spot for her to come back in.
Field of 6 for the Wayward Lass, going to kick off the late pick 4 this Saturday at Tampa, races 7 through 10. Best of luck.